breaks the sit. And you don't have to worry about even saying anything with it. So, right there.
Sit.
Right, tell him no. Tap one. Still tap it. There you go.
I don't want to do an 80.
That's okay. So that's what we're, just like last time, that's what we're looking for, is the second he breaks command. And the interesting thing, and this is actually a positive, is we're seeing him do the opposite of what he used to do, right? So he used to get stressed, get insecure, lunge, and resort to fight, right? Now we're seeing him get stressed, and then create distance, right? Which is actually significantly better because he's realizing there's consequences for his decisions. So that's awesome. So now we just got to address that last little bit of it there, just acting on it in general. We want you acting on this, period. So, what's new?
Dinner walks. So he was pretty good. We're still kind of trying to figure out like where to maybe have that middle of the walk break to kind of release him, let him pee and sniff around. We kind of found one area, but then it's like city owned and the grass was so high, so I didn't want him there. But he was doing pretty good, like staying with us.
On the walk.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then our brother-in-law came over. How was he when he dropped him?
He was pretty good when he got there. I mean, I put him on his bed, and he had that initial big reaction of wanting to come off the bed, and because he always wants to run up to the door.
Sure.
So I brought him back on the bed, and I told Rob, like, okay, just come walk in towards him. He stayed on the bed, and then I had kind of him go to different areas, like sit on the couch. He stayed on the bed, and I gave him the okay to walk down, and just to see if he would like walk by and stuff, and then I gave him the bed command again and had him move around a little bit, and he stayed on the bed then, but it's still that initial first reaction.
Yeah, I mean, this is, since you started training, is this really the first big time you've had somebody come over to test it, though?
Yeah, the one time her family came over, like mom and sister, but we didn't. She just
and you said he likes them or something?
Oh, he loves them.
Yeah.
And they just kind of showed up, and we didn't have the e-collar on or anything.
Yep, I got you. Well, here's the thing. So you handled it pretty much correct, and you know the other thing too with it is like first time doing it like that with somebody that he doesn't really know, he's gonna be apprehensive about. He's gonna have that first initial reaction. It's inevitable, you know. And probably the next 2 times you go to do it, he'll probably have the first initial response, just like when you guys first started coming here, you know. And you address it and handle it exactly like we're doing right now, and you'll see it continue to get less and less, just like we're seeing with him now, right? Now the only thing I would say is you don't have to get as crazy with testing it and stuff, right? So like when they get there, knock knock, put them on the bed. From there, have your guests come in and just have them go about their business, you know, do whatever they need to do, and just have them hold the bed like pretty much the whole time, you know. And don't worry about releasing, putting back on, releasing, putting back on. Just have them just stay there, you know.
He came back in the house because they were working outside with his baby, and we had him on the bed, but then for us, it's like we couldn't interact because we were worried about him, so we ended up just putting him in the crate.
Which is fine, you know, and if they're going to be there for a while, you know, it's one of those things where use the initial as a good training opportunity, then yeah, put them away so you guys don't have to worry about it, obviously, right? So that, I don't have an issue with that at all either, you know. I'm the same way with like when you get into like going places with your dog, like you're going to start hitting a point here soon where you can start taking them to stores and places and this and that. But like if you're going somewhere, like everybody wants to take their dog to a patio, right? And it's like, okay, well, we could take him to a patio and he probably would be fine, but it's like, you know, do you really want to have to be in like training mode the whole time you're there, or do you want to go there and like enjoy yourself, right? So you have to look at the scenario and be like, is this a training situation, or am I trying to just do my own thing and not have to worry about him? And then you assess if you have him out or not based on that, you know? Don't feel like an obligation or pressure to need to have him out the whole time either, you know? We just got to start pushing the threshold a little bit, you know, and starting to get him moving along in the correct direction, so. Anything else?
Initial reaction when that door knocked.
Yeah, he's just so used to, like, even when we come home, you know, he would run, like, if I'm home and she comes home, he runs up to her right away.
Yeah, and again, that's normal, right? So like my wife, when she's home and I get home from work, the dogs like charge the gate, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, somebody's here, who is it, you know? Like, so unless I'm asking for a command, I don't care, right? If he's in command, right, and he breaks command because of that, that's a different story, right? That's where we really get on him over it. But past that, no, I don't, you know, when he's not in command, he's allowed to be excited and go run over there, you know?
So if we know people that he likes that are coming over, over, we don't necessarily have to.
Well,
Or is that a good time to train?
no, so I try to keep my routine consistent. Listen, if it's just like me or my wife, that's one thing, right? But if we're gonna have guests come over the house, you don't wanna go into the battle of like 50% of the time we do bed stay, 50% of the time we don't do bed stay for a couple of reasons, right? One, that's an inconsistent routine, so it makes it harder for me to be successful with it. Where if it's 100% of the people that come over, initially for the first 10 minutes we put you on the bed, that's a concrete routine that, you know, no matter what in his mind, this is what I'm gonna do. So he's gonna start reverting to it on his own a little bit more easily, right? The other thing too is then you start creating this contrast between like some people are scary, some people are good, and we're kind of triggering him differently based on that, you know what I mean? And then the third reason, and arguably one of the most important, is that arousal and excitement, like that uncontrollable arousal and excitement, sometimes can be harder to channel and control than the fear, you know what I mean? So I look at that as like a bigger distraction, which is even more the reason why I want to work through it, you know? So keep those things in mind with it too. So, but yeah, I mean, you just got to keep doing it, right? And continue enforcing your bed stay and continue having your e-collar high for it and stuff like that. And you'll see that continue to improve. But for first time, it sounds like you were able to get him to hold it and he was good with it. So
When the one time, they came over a second time actually, her parents,
yeah,
your mom and sister, remember? And I had the e-collar and I shot them the one time.
Did nothing.
Must not have been high enough.
Sure.
So the second time, it came back.
Yiked him back to.
Yep. And that's like we talked about last time, just starting higher for those things, you know? So, but that's good. I mean, you're starting to see more real life situations and, you know, it's different. Like I said, like people get just as distracted as dogs do sometimes. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's harder for us to be like, oh shit, we're supposed to do this, you know? And it's just different than when you're in a training session.
Right.
So the fact that you're experiencing those things and you're seeing, all right, well, I got to do this a little different next time, or I got to do this a little bit different next time. That's good. That's a part of the process. So I mean, that all sounds positive to me. That
He's
sounds
really
good.
good when we see other dogs on the walks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
He'll
I
do
think
his
your
like
mom's coming over tomorrow.
Yep.
And your
does, like,
brother's Thursday, so.
Just indefinite, right? 10-minute bed stay when anybody comes over the house.
We should have him
minimum.
on the leash right now still.
Yeah, just in case you need to take him back, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're not quite finished with the come command, so we're gonna finish today here, you know, so once that's established, you can start doing it off leash, but until then, yeah, you want that leash on.
Okay.
Just like a backup.
Because if he jumps off, we can just say no and then put it back.
Correct him, walk him back, yep. So, cool, anything else? All right, let's go ahead and take them all this way.
Okay.
Okay, awesome, looks pretty good. So, now that he's doing pretty good with that, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna start combining some of these commands a little bit. So I'm gonna start putting him onto a bed and then doing a recall off of it. So we'll start with the bed stay here. Reagan's bed. Good. No. Bed. Good. So once I get him onto the bed, just have him hold that for a minute or so. As we start doing this with the combining commands, this is where you really can start confusing the dog if you move too quick with stuff. So you'll notice that I'm gonna work really slow. Once I put him into that bed, I'll really let him just kind of chill there for a little bit and settle into position. And then there's a couple of other little variables we add in when we start doing this kind of stuff that I'll explain as we go. While he's holding that bed, I'm gonna try to avoid like stopping and just staring at him. Things like that can be very inviting and kind of imply that I want him to come to me. So try to break that habit. You can check in with him obviously, but try to just kind of act natural, kind of keep some motion going. Whenever I want to call him, what I'll do is I'll pick a spot, come to a stop, give that come command, and just give him a minute or so to kind of figure it out. It's pretty common that on the first couple, they don't get up on the first one because, you know, anytime in the past he's broken a bed stay, he's gotten a correction for it, obviously. So we'll see what we get here.
And it's a different release, right? It's from.
Well, it's not a release. Yeah, so okay is a release, obviously, meaning that he's just totally free to do whatever. In this case, we're releasing him with another command.
Yes.
So when I tell him come, yeah, there's gonna be specific meaning to what he needs to do, so it's different for him. Yep. Reagan's come. And he actually did pretty good that time. Now, let's say hypothetically he did not get up on that one, right? This is the one place that we have like an exception to our rule of repeating commands. So if I call my dog out of a stationary position with a come command, whether that's a sit, a down, a bed, any number of those types of things, if they hesitate on the first one, I'll give one extra come command. The reason for that is because we're always correcting for being too jumpy off of the bed. So since we're doing that, I'm not also going to confuse them by correcting for being not jumpy enough off of the bed, right? Okay, from there I'll tell him, okay. We go all the way back over to the bed. He doesn't have to follow me at this point because he's free, right? Once I get next to the bed, Riggins bed, I'll give that command. And then I like to wait with them until the dog completely stabilizes before I go to walk away. Same deal. If you tell him bed and he's like in the process of getting on and I'm running the other way, that can get confusing for them. So.
To work up to off leash?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're working on right now. This is off-leash training, you know. Off-leash to me is, you know, do we have the ability to communicate with the dog whether they have the leash on or not, you know? Can we get them to perform all of the behaviors that we need if they don't have the leash on?
Now with him, because of his reactions to people and animals, would you ever have him walking off leash?
Yeah, I mean, that's dependent on a lot of factors, right? Number one being your guys's, you know, skill set continuing to improve. You know what I mean? Because sure, yeah, if this were my dog, I'm sure that we can get him to a place where he could walk off leash and be around tons of distractions and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty confident that you guys could get there as well, but your timing with things is going to need to get like perfect, right? Because here's the thing, there's, you know, with any dog you work with, forget a reactive dog or a fearful dog or any dog, right? When you start doing off-leash stuff with them, they're gonna start trying shit, right? Whether it's, oh, there's a squirrel over there I really wanna go to. Oh, there's a dog over there I really wanna go to. Oh, there's a person over there I really wanna go to. Any number of those things, right? And you have to be prepared to encounter those things and know how to address them like that, right? And when you're doing true off-leash stuff, those things can come out of nowhere, you know what I mean? There's one time I was walking off-leash in the woods and suddenly there's a buck like 20 feet away from us, right? And they were off-leash, right? Like there was no like, oh, I can just put the leash on real quick. It's like suddenly it's there, right? So you need to feel confident that in those scenarios, you could react accordingly and address that scenario the second it happens, right? There's no amount of preparation you're gonna do leading up to off-leash stuff that's just gonna be like, check your dog is perfect off-leash, you know what I mean? So short answer, yeah, I'm sure you could get there. Long answer, it's gonna take some time for you guys to get there. Riggins, come. Nice. Bed. Good.
Now, what if it was in this sit and you bring it to like over towards bed, and just before you even say it, you always want to make sure you say that command if you like notice he's gonna just go up there? Or?
Yeah, I just try to say it right before, because like I'm not trying to get him. Like if I'm standing right next to that bed, I'm not gonna be like come and then like force him to stop next to me, then get on the bed. You know, again, it's not technically wrong, but it's like you start making this stuff more and more increasingly challenging for the dog. They start becoming less and less successful with it, and they lose confidence in it. You know what I mean? So that's why we kind of make some of these rules of like if I'm within 5 feet of that bed, I'm typically only ever gonna ask him to get onto the bed, right? So yeah, I'll just try to, so that it's not wrong, just say bed right before he gets on, you know. Riggins, come. He did really, really good today. A little difficult initially with the come command, but he worked through it and he was phenomenal after that. So I'm very, very pleased with how all that went with him.
Yeah.
So
The beginning was
So hard.
yeah. That's always the hardest part, you know, is when we get to that place where they really realize like that leash is not on them and their number one go-to is hide, right? And you got, that's one of the most important parts to work them past, because you see as soon as we did it, right, and as soon as you realized it's just not working, you saw how much better he was, you know? And it's interesting, like he's ending like looking pretty confident, looking pretty peppy and stuff like that. And, you know, as we take away some of those options when they get that scared, that's where we really see them start to open up a little bit more, you know, it like starts to like erase from the back of their mind, like I could resort to run and hide next to mom and dad and then defensive when people approach, you know. So that was really good. Do you guys have any questions on any of that?
Walking, we're still doing.
Keep plugging away with your walking as normal, just how you guys have been enforcing it. Start adding these drills into things, and then your bed stay with people coming over, keep trying to push that.
So do you want us to just get right into the bed, come sit,
work a couple of off-leash comm commands first, make sure it looks good. From there, yes, you can